The beast world is what all females envy most. It's not having 5 super handsome beast husbands. It's being chosen by the lord of the snake clan. Once the snake king falls for a female, he'll spoil her like a queen until she's covered in his scent all over. But the newly transmigrated Ruin Qingye got the wrong idea. She thought the big snake was raising her as a cub. But as time went by, Ruin Qingye found this snake acts just like a husky. He likes licking her all over whenever he's free. He even straight up bathes her with his saliva. At this moment, the newly transmigrated Ruin Qingye hopefully turned on her phone, only to find there was no signal. Refusing to give up, she ran around holding her phone to try again, but she had to give up in disappointment in the end. And except the fact that she'd transmigrated, she walked to a small stream and spotted several big black fish in the clear water. Her stomach growled uncontrollably right away. To survive, Ruin Qingye fought her hunger and got in the water to catch fish. Thanks to her past wild camping experience, she was able to accept her current situation. Maybe it's because the fish here live in such a comfortable environment that they've lost all sense of danger, so Ruin Qingye caught one super easily. Then she carried some stones and used branches to build a simple fish grill. Luckily, she had a lighter in her backpack, so she didn't have to go through the hassle of making fire by drilling wood. The leaves here are really weird. They're obviously bright green, full of sap, but they catch fire super easily. That made Ruin Qingye extra careful with the fire, afraid she'd accidentally start a forest fire. Soon, a fragrant grilled fish was done. She took a big bite. Only then did Ruin Qingye feel like she was alive again. There was no salt, of course, but the fish tasted way better than she expected. In no time at all, she'd finished the whole fish. After eating, Ruin Qingye got back in the water and caught another one. She cleaned it skillfully and wrapped it in leaves, slathered it in mud, and tossed it next to the fire. After she finished all that, she stared at the fire, zoning out. What the hell is this place anyway? Ruin Qingye grabbed her hair in frustration. It still felt so unreal to her. She kept daydreaming she could go home any second. But all of a sudden, she heard a rustling sound, like something rubbing against the grass. Immediately, a strong sense of danger washed over her. Out of instinct, she shot up and rolled to the side. The next second, a thick, long black snake tail smashed a crack right where she'd been lying. When Ruin Qingye turned around, she saw that thick snake tail snatch the grilled fish next to the fire. Then she looked up and saw a 20-meter-long giant black snake. Ruin Qingye was instantly covered in chills. She was so scared her legs wouldn't stop shaking. She lost her balance all of a sudden and fell to the ground. This big black snake would eat me like a spicy stick, right? Ruin Qingye thought miserably. She watched the black snake slowly approach her. Ruin Qingye closed her eyes, ready to die. But the expected pain never came. She just felt something cold on her arm. When she slowly opened her eyes, she saw the big snake flicking its tongue and licking her arm. What's more, the snake's tail was curled around a bright red fruit and kept shoving it in her face. She had no choice. So Ruin Qingye took the fruit shakily and took a tiny bite. Wow, that's so sweet. When the big snake saw the little human eat the fruit, it gave a very human-like smile. Then the snake suddenly used its tail to drop 2 or 3 black fish in front of her. It wrapped its tail around Ruin Qingye's waist and pushed her towards the black fish. By now, she had calmed down from her fear. You want me to grill fish for you? The snake pushed the fish a little further forward. Ruin Qingye knew she'd guessed right. After that, she became a full-time fish griller. I'm a fish griller. I'm super good at grilling fish. I don't get paid a single cent. But my life is way more important than money. She worked until the sun went down. Before the big snake was full, the big snake licked Ruin Qingye's hand and arm. Then, as if to pay her, it stuffed several red fruits into Ruin Qingye's arms. Ruin Qingye put the fruits in her backpack as she spoke. Snake bro, since you're full already, you should head back now. I'll see you same time tomorrow, okay? That was a nice thought. But reality is cruel. The big snake obviously had no intention of letting the little human go. Before Ruin Qingye could react, the snake dragged her away with its tail. Held up in the air, she couldn't do a thing. Soon she was taken to a cave. The cave was super spacious inside. There was a big smooth stone in the middle, and a fluffy animal hide was laid on the stone on purpose. Wait, how did a snake skin an animal? Ruin Qingye was a little confused. The big snake lay down on the hide skillfully. He even left an empty spot on purpose, motioning for the little one to come up too. Ruin Qingye didn't have the guts for that. She waved her hands in a hurry, saying she'd sleep outside. She walked out of the cave. Ruan Qingye took out her phone right away. She stared at the screen with the last sliver of hope. Still, no miracle happened. At this moment, Ruan Qingye finally couldn't hold back and burst into tears. From now on, she could only count on herself to survive in this forest. Suddenly, an icy cold snake's tongue brushed against her face. It wanted to lick her tears. Ruan Qingye sobbed and blocked it with her hand. Stop licking me, okay? I don't even have water to wash my face. Even though the big snake was clearly being friendly, Ruan Qingye still couldn't fully trust him. But when she felt the touch on her hand, she realized she'd touched its tongue and forked tongue. Goosebumps popped up all over her body immediately, so she apologized in a hurry. I'm sorry, big snake. I didn't mean to poke your tongue. Don't get mad, okay? Right after she said that, the big snake pinned Ruan Qingye down abruptly. Its tongue kept nuzzling around in her arms. He was totally obsessed with the little one's touches. Seeing this, Ruan Qingye let out a sigh of relief. She could only stroke the snake's head over and over again. Before she knew it, she drowsily closed her eyes. But she woke up with a start not long after. She opened her eyes and saw the black snake was still asleep. So she decided to take this chance to leave. Ruan Qingye psyched herself up. She grabbed her backpack and walked out of the cave. She lit a torch and walked south for 2 hours. Through the moonlight, Ruan Qingye saw an endless stretch of grassland. There were many strange animals on the grassland. Ruan Qingye was pretty tired by now. She leaned against a tree trunk, exhausted both mentally and physically, munching on red berries from her backpack. Then she stood up and lit a campfire. In this pitch-black forest, only fire could make her feel safe. When she grilled fish for the big snake during the day, she noticed the black snake seemed to be afraid of fire. That meant the instinct of wild animals fearing fire worked here too. That's why she dared to leave the cave at night. But when she actually heard the roar of an animal, she still couldn't help feeling a little nervous. After thinking for a second, Ruan Qingye decided to spend the night up a tree. But it was hard to climb a tree with a torch, so she cleared out an open spot and stuck the torch in the ground. But right after she put it down, she caught a whiff of a nasty, bloody smell. She instinctively picked up the torch again and looked towards the dark area ahead, and immediately met a pair of cold, bloodthirsty eyes. As the dark figure walked closer, she saw what the predator really was. There was a bloody cut on the leopard's face. It was obviously a fresh wound. Ruan Qingye trembled as she held the torch in front of her. But to her horror, this wild animal wasn't really afraid of the fire. It lunged at her in the blink of an eye. Ruan Qingye quickly swung the torch forward. Even though she blocked the leopard's attack this time, she got a cut on her arm too. The leopard was toying with its prey. It didn't rush to deliver the final blow to Ruan Qingye. Every time it lunged at her, it would leave a cut, then dart away quickly. It didn't take long for Ruan Qingye to be on the verge of breaking down, but she didn't want to die like this. Since the torch wasn't working, Ruan Qingye just threw the torch away and pulled out the dagger from her backpack. Before she could do anything else, the beast charged at her again. But this time, she was already ready. She stabbed the dagger hard into the leopard's eye, but the force of the charge knocked her to the ground. She couldn't get up for a moment. One of the leopard's eyes was blinded. Extreme pain made it ram into trees crazily. The next second, Ruan Qingye, who was on the ground, saw something totally unbelievable. The leopard's body was actually shifting between human and animal form, but it shifted back after a moment. Then the beast pounced at her again. Ruan Qingye could only watch helplessly as she counted down to her own death. At the very last second, a dark figure suddenly appeared and yanked the midair pouncing leopard down. Through the dim moonlight, Ruan Qingye saw clearly. It was that big black snake. The big snake was one size bigger than the leopard. Its huge fangs bit right into the leopard's neck. In just a few seconds, the leopard was dead. After the big snake took care of its opponent, it slithered furiously over to his little one. It hissed for the first time, sounding angry and unwilling. In his mind, if a female leaves a male on her own in the jungle, it only means the male is weak and has no charm. Which means I, the king of the jungle, haven't earned the little one's approval? At this moment, Ruan Qingye used his blood-stained hand to touch the snake's head and said weakly, I'm sorry. I never thought that without you. I'm so useless. The big snake was stunned for a second after being touched and immediately put on a smug expression, like it was saying, haha, now you know how awesome I am, right? Then it turned to the leopard's corpse and whipped it hard a few times. After it vented its anger, it found the little guy had already fainted. So it carefully pulled off the little guy's clothes, then licked the wounds on his body. That night, Ruin Kingi was in and out of consciousness. He vaguely saw a man pick him up, then stuffed a lot of bitter herbs into his mouth. He subconsciously shut his mouth to refuse, but then he felt a mouth forcefully pry his mouth open and poured the bitter herb residue into it, forcing him to swallow it. When Ruin Kingi opened his eyes again, it was already the next afternoon. He felt sore all over his body and was lying on animal hide wearing only his underwear. His clothes were messily piled to the side. The wound on his leg was already covered with a thick layer of herbal medicine. After struggling to put on his clothes, he ate 3 red berries in a row before he recovered. Just then, the big snake slowly wandered back, dragging 2 prey that weren't completely bitten to death. When the big snake saw that Ruin Qingye was already awake, its eyes lit up instantly. It threw the 2 prey randomly outside the cave and tried to pounce in front of Ruin Qingye. But halfway through gliding, it remembered the little guy risked danger just to leave it and went into that leopard's territory recklessly. Its eyes suddenly dimmed again, so its tail stopped perking up, turned around and pushed the prey in front of Ruin Qingye, then turned its back to Ruin Qingye and coiled silently in the corner. Thank you for saving me that night. The big snake's conflicted and sad movements were all seen by Ruin Qingye, and he knew that leaving without saying a word had made the big snake sad. After saying that, Ruin Qingye walked to the big snake's side. No matter how much grilled fish you want to eat in the future, I'll grill it all for you. And I can make other delicious food too, you know. As compensation, I'll make you food every day from now on. How does that sound? After Ruin Qingye finished speaking, he put on a super happy look like he was eating delicious food, then gave a thumbs up. Seeing this, the big snake huffed and rested its head on Ruin Qingye's stomach. This press made Ruin Qingye almost spit out the berries he just ate. Seeing this, the big snake quickly lifted its head and gave him a questioning look. I'm fine, I'm just hungry. After saying that, Ruin Qingye planned to take the knife to cut up the prey meat for cooking. But he looked around the entire stone cave and couldn't find his backpack. He panicked immediately. Big snake, did you see my backpack? The moment he asked the question, he knew the black snake must have taken it. That evasive look that didn't dare to meet his eyes. Looked guilty no matter how you saw it. Then he saw the black snake silently take the backpack out from behind the stone. The naive black snake thought that as long as it hid this thing, its little guy would never leave. Seeing the black snake lower its head, looking like it was admitting its mistake, Ruin Qingye couldn't help but smile. Then he explained sincerely to the black snake, "This is really important to me. Can you stop hiding it secretly in the future?" But the black snake covered its face with its tail and pretended it didn't understand. Seeing this, Ruin Qingye could only smile and shake his head. He took the dagger out of his backpack and started cutting the meat seriously. The black snake next to him even consciously went outside the cave to bring a big bundle of branches and a super large flat stone. After seeing the big snake's very human-like behavior, Ruin Qingye took out the palm-sized leaves he picked in the forest and pointed at them, gesturing that he wanted some. The black snake nodded. It brought back a whole bunch of palm-sized leaves in no time, with several more held in its mouth. Seeing the big snake like this, Ruin Qingye had a wild thought. Could this big snake have mistaken me for its cub? He heard that there are cases where wild beasts take human kids as their own cubs, whatever. It's good to be treated as a cub anyway. At least I can get meat to eat. Coming back to his senses, Ruin Qingye started frying meat on the stone slab. Waves of meat fragrance drifted out and attracted a bunch of wild monkeys. They were so greedy that they chattered nonstop. But they were afraid of the big snake and didn't dare to go near the cave. Suddenly, a red berry hit Ruin Qingye's arm. He turned his head to look at the big tree next to him. A bold monkey took advantage of the time when the big snake was full and napping, and jumped onto the big tree on his side. I saw that monkey hold out the big peach in its hand, then pointed at the grilled meat on the stone slab, made a few gestures. Ruin Qingye finally realized what it meant. You want to trade with me? The monkey held the peach out further. Ruin Qingye shifted forward a little, then wrapped some fried meat in palm leaves and handed it to the monkey. After getting the meat, the monkey went and brought several little monkeys over, then sat on that big tree, watching him while eating, hooting loudly. Ruin Qingye guessed that it was probably Praising his delicious fried meat, he also took a big bite of the peach in his hand. It was crisp, sweet, and cut through the greasiness perfectly. Then he waved at the monkey. "Come trade with me anytime you want meat later, okay?" The monkey didn't seem to get it, but threw another big peach to him instead. People get sleepy easily when they're full and satisfied. He yawned. He closed his eyes, and moments later, a snake tail carefully wrapped around Ruan Qingyi and lifted him up and set him down on the stone bed. Then it put some leaves beside it into its mouth and chewed them up, then replaced the old leaves on Ruan Qingyi's wound and applied the new chewed leaves. Right then, Ruan Qingyi suddenly remembered a very important thing. Why did that leopard turn into a human after getting injured that night? Also, he could feel that a human had fed him medicine after he passed out last night. But besides the big snake, there was literally no one else in this cave. Could that person be right after the new leaves were applied? Ruan Qingyi's drowsiness became totally uncontrollable right away. He fell asleep before he finished thinking. Doma Jungle is the name Ruan Qingyi gave to this jungle. Ever since he got injured, he'd been recovering in the cave, but right now he couldn't stand how sticky and gross he felt all over. He wanted to take a bath. He begged the big snake for a whole hour for that. After Ruan Qingyi kept petting its head to coax it, the big snake finally agreed to carry him to the stream, but kept stopping him from getting in the water to bathe. For a while, Ruan Qingyi had no idea what to do with it. Then he decided to try another trick. He set up a grill and started roasting fish for the big snake. This trick worked like a charm. The big snake, with its full round belly, started dozing off before long. Ruan Qingyi also noticed that lately the big snake had picked up a weird habit. It liked to balance his backpack on its head when it slept. It did this every single night. Seeing the black snake was fully asleep, Ruan Qingyi stepped into the water with his uninjured leg and rested the other one on the bank, then scrubbed himself all over thoroughly. When Ruan Qingyi got out of the water after his bath, the big snake slithered over unsteadily from under the shade, dazedly balancing Ruan Qingyi's backpack on its head, and licked Ruan Qingyi's face. But when it saw that Ruan Qingyi's body was all wet, it got nervous right away. Because as far as the big snake knew, if the little cubs in the tribe got injured after they had herbal leaves applied, they couldn't touch water for a long time. Otherwise, they could easily die. In its eyes, the little human wasn't grown up either. The sad look in the big snake's eyes made Ruan Qingyi panic immediately. "I'm sorry, okay. I really couldn't stand how I smelled. That's why I got in the water. I'll fry extra meat for you tonight, okay?" Right after he said that, the big snake wrapped its tail around him and the clothes on the ground and slithered quickly back to the cave. Ruan Qingyi had just finished bathing. He only had a pair of underwear on. Even though his body was wrapped in the snake's tail, he still blushed a little. Once they got back to the cave, Ruan Qingyi hurried to put on his clothes. After the big snake set him down on the ground, it patted Ruan Qingyi's head, signaling him to stay in the cave. Then the big snake left the cave. This was the sign that the big snake was going out to hunt. But this made Ruan Qingyi a little confused. Didn't it just finish hunting this morning? Did its appetite get bigger? Suddenly there was a loud rumble. A loud clap of thunder came from the sky. The thunder pulled Ruan Qingyi out of his thoughts. The sky was clear and cloudless just a moment ago, but it turned completely overcast in the blink of an eye. In an instant, a bolt of lightning struck the forest. Then the pouring rain started. Ruan Qingyi started to worry about the big snake. He was scared it would get hit by lightning. Luckily, not long after, the big snake came back through the rain. It had a prey animal in its mouth, and its tail was wrapped around a big bundle of numbing herb branches. Ruan Qingyi quickly took the herbs the big snake handed him, chewed them up himself, and applied them to his wound. To prevent fever and infection, Ruan Qingyi even took the honeysuckle he'd been saving in his bag and boiled it to drink. That night, the human and the snake ate roasted meat again. But this time, Ruan Qingyi didn't have much of an appetite. He thought it was because he ate meat every single day. So he decided that after this heavy rain stopped, he would go pick some wild vegetables and mushrooms to change things up. Then she lay down on the stone bed and fell asleep. Late at night, the big snake was woken up by the little one's whimpers. He immediately reared up his snake body. Anxiously, he kept nudging Ruan Qingyi's neck with his tail. After realizing the little one had a fever, the big snake thought of the tribe's dead little cubs. Panicked, he kept licking Ruan Qingyi with his forked tongue. But she still wouldn't wake up. Then he suddenly remembered the tribe's witch doctor once told him that the pungent-smelling cliff has fever-reducing herbs growing beside it. He glanced down at the little one lying on the bed, then slithered out of the cave and vanished into the heavy rain. An hour later, Ruan Qingye woke up. She noticed the big snake wasn't in the cave, so she got ready to go check outside. But she felt dizzy the second she stood up. That was when she realized she had a fever. She had no choice but to lie back on the stone bed. She was a little worried about the big snake's sudden disappearance. But Ruan Qingye could only wait inside the cave. Every little while, she couldn't help glancing toward the cave entrance. The black snake still hadn't come back when the sun fully came up. When she looked toward the entrance again, she saw a tall, completely naked man walk into the cave holding a bunch of grass. Ruan Qingye rubbed her eyes hard. Am I delirious from the fever? Why am I seeing hallucinations? Then the man squatted down next to Ruan Qingye. He put the grass in his mouth and chewed it up. Then he gripped Ruan Qingye's neck and fed all of it into her mouth to mouth. Hey, what are you doing? The dazed Ruan Qingye only realized what was happening right then. But the man roughly pinched her mouth shut, so she couldn't fight back at all. She was trembling all over from the bitter taste. But she could tell what was in her mouth was dandelion. Dandelion reduces fever and fights inflammation, so she only struggled for a moment before she forced herself to swallow the medicine. But after swallowing it, Ruan Qingye noticed this strange man was still sweeping his tongue around inside her mouth. She pushed the man away when she was about to suffocate. Then she panted heavily as she looked. The man in front of her, up and down, he had sharp, defined facial features plus strange totems around his eyes. Damn, why is this guy so hot? Then her eyes drifted down to his private parts. So she blushed and quickly grabbed the animal skin off her body and wrapped it around his waist. She tied it tight in a dead knot. The man didn't say a word the whole time. He just kept staring at Ruan Qingye. Hey, who are you? Did you also suddenly transmigrate to this jungle? As soon as he saw Ruan Qingye talking, the man excitedly leaned closer, stuck out his tongue and licked Ruan Qingye's ear. Then he made a hissing sound from his throat. Ruan Qingye froze immediately from being licked. Are you the big snake? Ruan Qingye stuck out her tongue and gestured the way the big snake slithered around with her hands. After seeing her gestures, he responded even more enthusiastically and grabbed Ruan Qingye's hand. He licked the palm of her hand again. Now Ruan Qingye was finally sure. This guy was that dumb big snake. That explained all her previous confusion. When the leopard turned into a human before, she already suspected the black snake could turn human too. But after that, no matter what Ruan Qingye said, or what gestures she made, the black snake never understood what she was trying to say. So she gave up on that idea. She never expected to get this surprise today. Ruan Qingye, who had been looking all listless earlier, suddenly got super excited right then. If they can turn into humans, that means there might be orc tribes here too. But then she immediately blushed. Thinking about that forceful way he fed her medicine just now, her face was burning hot. She patted her cheeks and forced herself to forget those scenes. She calmed herself down and coughed lightly. Thanks for getting the medicine for me. I feel a lot better now. The big snake knew that whenever the little one gave him a thumbs up, she was praising him. So he copied her and stuck up both his thumbs. He wanted to tell the little one that she was great and brave too, for not dying from the high fever. Ruan Qingye was shocked by the big snake's imitation. With such a strong learning ability, could I teach him Chinese? Thinking of this, Ruan Qingye pointed at her mouth, then opened her mouth to show him the lip movements. But this was obviously not something the big snake could learn in a short time. But she wasn't in a rush. As long as they spent more time together, he would learn it eventually. By now, the rain outside had stopped. Even though Ruan Qingye was physically exhausted, she was in really high spirits. Before she knew it, this is already the 8th day since she arrived in the Doma jungle, since she still hasn't fully recovered. Ruan Qingye decided to let the black snake do the cooking. She just lay on the stone bed giving directions. It was the big snake's first time using a dagger. He froze for a second when cutting the meat. He couldn't understand why the little thing in his hand could be so sharp. And for a tribe, having sharp knives is a great advantage that helps tribesmen get through the winter safely. But Ruan Qingye had no idea what he was thinking. She just held the dagger to show him how to use it. The big snake picks up new things really quickly. It didn't take long for him to skillfully peel off the prey's fur completely. He cut half of the meat into pieces and put them on the stone slab. When he needed to start a fire, he walked to the stone bed. He picked Ruan Chingy up and carried her to the backpack. He had seen the little one use a weird object to make flames before. Ruan Chingy knew what he meant. She unzipped the backpack and took out a lighter and put it in the big snake's hand. Then she taught him how to light a fire. At first, when the big snake made a flame with the lighter, he still got spooked and backed away instinctively and hissed threateningly at the lighter on impulse. Seeing this, Ruan Chingy couldn't help laughing out loud. When the big snake realized the little one was laughing at him, he bowed his head dejectedly and rubbed Ruan Chingy's hair. Later, with Ruan Chingy's comfort, he successfully learned to use the lighter to start the campfire. Then he was on his way to becoming an excellent barbecue master. He focused on flipping the meat with a tree branch. When he couldn't flip the meat over, he would pretend to reach out to touch Ruan Chingy's face to block her view. After Ruan Chingy had her eyes covered 3 times,